Dale Merrick smelled it before he saw anything. Sweet. Slightly wrong. Like honey left on a stove. He had smelled it on a different car last month. Same model. Same corner. He knelt and slid his hand into the rear wheel arch. The metal was warm. The car had been parked since morning. Nothing in the manual explained warm metal on a cold engine. Dale ran the back bay at an exotic dealership outside Phoenix. Factory trained. The only one of his rank in the state. Owners asked for him by name. He liked that more than he admitted. Above his toolbox hung a photo of a rusted coupe he'd rebuilt in a driveway. He believed in these cars, not the badge, the engineering. Every panel had a reason. Every bolt had a torque value written by someone smarter than him. That was the arrangement. He trusted the factory. The owners trusted him. His signature went on the last line of every inspection sheet. Green ink. Tom Rennick's car came in on a Tuesday. Tom was retired. Careful. He drove the thing like it was borrowed. He said the cabin smelled sweet at a stoplight. Then it stopped. Dale ran the diagnostics. Then he ran them again. The computer said the car was perfect. Dale signed the sheet. Driving home, he kept thinking about it. He had certified a perfect car that smelled like something cooking. The car came back before the month was out. Dale put it on the lift, pulled the wheel, pulled the inner liner. The first thing he found was a stain. Above the tire, tucked against the body, sat a quilted panel of foil, silver, ribbed, soft as a pot holder. In the middle of it was a bloom, brown at the edges, black at the center, roughly the size of a spread hand. The foil had crinkled and gone brittle. He pressed it with a fingertip. It gave. It was not supposed to give. That panel should have sat tight against the body. Now there was a gap, wide enough to slide a business card into. Along the upper edge, something had melted, run, and hardened again in a bead. Dale called the foreman over. The foreman looked, shrugged, said heat happens in these cars. Dale asked the question that stayed with him for a year. What exactly was holding that panel up? Nobody in the bay could answer him. He pulled the file on the other car. Same model, same corner, same bloom. That one belonged to a collector. Delivery miles. It had barely left the garage, so this wasn't track abuse. It wasn't a heavy foot. That night, after close, Dale walked out to the showroom floor. New car, never titled, never driven. He got down on the polished concrete with a flashlight. The panel inside that arch was already hanging low. Not burnt, not yet, just sitting further from the body than any drawing allowed. The cars were arriving broken, and the sag pointed down toward the exhaust. How long does a new car hang there before it touches? These files were never meant to be public. Subscribe. There are more of them. The last thing Dale found was the one that mattered. The burn wasn't on the face he could see. It was on the top of the panel, the blind side, the side that requires dropping the whole assembly, which meant the damage always happened where nobody was looking. Then he read the service tickets, and his hands went cold. None of these cars had burned while moving. Air under a moving car carries heat away with it. Parked, nothing moves. The heat has nowhere to go but up. It climbs into that arch and sits there, long after the driver has walked into the house. The worst moment in one of these cars comes after the key is out. Dale called the factory hotline. He was given a case number and a callback window. The callback never came. Who inspects a car that only fails when nobody is watching? Tom Rennick drove home on a Thursday in July. Dinner with his wife. A paper bag of leftovers on the passenger floor. He pulled into the garage and lowered the door behind him. The engine ticked as it cooled. It always did. He liked the sound. Inside, he hung the keys on their hook. It was quiet for 11 minutes. Then the smoke alarm went off in the kitchen. He opened the door to the garage and could not see the far wall. The car sat inside a thin, orange line of light. The rear arch was already gone. The paint above it was lifting and rolling. The glass went with a sound like a dropped plate. He got his wife out the front door in her socks. The fire took the garage, the roof line, and most of the kitchen. What came off the flatbed the next morning was a shell. Dale walked around it in his own bay. Alloy had run and pooled on the floor pan. Tom's reading glasses had melted into the center console. Dale had signed that car's last inspection. Green ink, his name on the line. The reason was never in the engine bay. It was decided years earlier in a meeting. Heat shields used to be bolted on. Rivets, studs, clips. Hard metal through hard metal. Bolts weigh something. Bolts also need holes. Holes in a thin aluminum body panel are a problem someone has to solve, so the factory bonded the shields on instead. A high-temperature structural adhesive. Glue, essentially. It was lighter. It was faster on the assembly line. It left the panel whole. By every measure on the engineer's sheet, it was the better answer. The adhesive carried a temperature rating, The rating was honest, the test was the problem. Validation was run with the car moving, air flowing, heat leaving. Nobody held the car still and waited. Parked, that pocket above the exhaust behaves like an oven with the door shut. The adhesive softens, the bond creeps, the shield drops a few millimeters, which puts it closer to the heat that softened it, so it drops further. And past a certain point, the adhesive stops being glue and becomes fuel. That was the bloom Dale found, a shield touching what it was never meant to touch. That was the showroom car, sagging before it was ever sold. The bond letting go from the first hot afternoon, and that was the burn on the blind face in a closed garage long after the driving stopped. One decision, sitting upstream of everything Dale found, made in a room with a weight target on the wall. The recall came later. It always does. The fix was almost insulting in its simplicity. Technicians pulled the shields and fastened them mechanically, metal through metal, the old way. The buybacks were quiet. The settlements were quieter. Insurers paid out on $300,000 cars and moved on. But the adhesive was never the real failure. Someone inside that building had already asked for a soak test, a test where the car simply sits, hot, nothing moving, nothing cooling. The request is in the file. It was deferred to the next model year. The next model year arrived. The test did not. Dale still runs the back bay. New cars, new badges, same lift, same green pen. Before he touches anything else, he puts his bare hand into the rear wheel arch. He has never told an owner why.